Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Unified Proving Ground Circuit. We are here in day number 4, ready to get right into the action. My name is Travis D. I am joined here with my lovely analyst, Smats. And also joining us here today is our special guest coming straight from the bot lane. It's Avril. Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm very nervous.
I love that. I love that. Look, we're going to see some games that will definitely calm you down because we got some hot ones here ready for us here. AOE, Winthrop coming at each other. We're going right into Group C, and both these teams have some interesting storylines coming in here. Smash, real quick, if you could, give me a lowdown on Winthrop real quick.
So Winthrop is a collegiate team coming into this tournament. They played in last year's games as well. For those of you who only watch the unified parts for some reason, we saw them have some really good games in the unified Grand Prix, both times actually, even taking down TSM Academy in those just last year. And they are coming into this one with a different roster. They still have the defending champions of collegiate in jungle and support with Frost Forest and Sir Kenji. They've got some new players around the block as well. Mabud, Ivano, and King Vex all on the roster now. Fresh faces who've been playing with the roster for a little while now, but now taking their first steps into the amateur space here for Proving Grounds. Very exciting team. Definitely look out for jungle and support plays because these two are really, really solid. They won collegiate. Now they're here to try to win some more.
Yeah, they're trying to win some more, but they got a huge roadblock, an obstacle in their way. And talking about fresh steps, there was an org that took its fresh steps last year in the name of AOE that was able to come out here and really surprise some people. If you could, go ahead and tell me a little bit more about AOE.
All right, so this roster that AOE has had is I think the first official roster they've officially teamed up with an LCS organization. AOE has at least, and this is a really cool thing actually. This is a really stacked roster in my opinion. I'm really looking at Anime Girl, Winston, and Sochi specifically, just because I have seen them play in solo queue a bunch, especially Winston. I mean, obviously Winston has been to scouting grounds and everything, and he has a pretty extensive career so far. But also Anime Girl is really starting to get his name out there with, I mean, just how consistent and well he's playing and how diverse his champion pool is. He really is someone that Winthrop is gonna have to take into account when picking their bans and picks because he just has a champion ocean.
I agree there. Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I mean, I think a lot of people, if you're coming in here first, a lot of people get glued to the names. They see Anime Girl and yeah, I can cheer on an Anime Girl. Let's go. Let's do this. But going into it, you talked a little bit about the top lane, and I real quick do want to throw a spotlight back over here as you talked a little bit about Anime Girl, and standing across from him is a growing player. There's a player across the pond on Winthrop named Mabud, who has been growing up, has climbed up through the ranks very swiftly, and has been a consistent rock every time I have seen this player play. So it's going to be an exciting matchup over into the top lane.
Yeah, the big thing I want to highlight here is that in the OQs, both these players, all the players actually, played 5 games, and these two specifically played 5 different champions each time, both of them playing the tanks like Tom Kench and Ornn. Moving over to the bruisers, we saw a Darius game from Anime Girl, and Mabud's playing this Jax. And they've got the AP bruisers as well, like Gwen and Mordekaiser, so some really, really big champion pools, like you said, Avril. I'm super excited for these guys, and it really does make red side all that more powerful because you can save that counter pick for last pick and have it be really, really impactful. I believe IMT AOE is on red side for the first game, if I'm not mistaken, so that's something that they got to watch out for.
We saw how valuable red side was in general yesterday. Looking at the games yesterday, we had some chaos over here on the Academy stream. Just to go for a quick review of that, I feel like that's an Apple name to do it. You can see the results here as over here on the Academy stream, we went to 6 whole games, had 2 best of 3s that went the distance, while over in Group B, Some big dubs there for UCI to pick up the one victory against GGS, Cinnamon Bread, the kryptonite of Golden Guardians Academy. And Wildcard even had a hard-fought game number 2 against Bay State. So the action was so close, and a lot of the teams, they turned around and said they've got to keep an eye on these teams because they will catch up to them if they blink, if they do not prep correctly. That being said, bro, I want to go ahead and talk to you real quick because, you know, you bring your skill and expertise from the bot lane into this conversation. We're seeing a different champion pool that actually gets to come out here. We're seeing a little bit more priority onto a Jhin pick here instead of like the Caitlyn Jinx. How do you feel about that as we've seen such a bot lane centric meta playing around these hyper carries?
I'm not the biggest fan of that from Winthrop, just because, first of all, Caitlyn and Jinx are obviously very good right now. They're pick or ban, in my but also it's specifically Jhin. I would be okay with like maybe a Varus, Prio, or even like Ziggs or anything like that. But like I really don't like Jhin just because he is more of a like utility AD carry in a meta right now where finally like ADCs are strong and ADCs like are for once, yeah, where ADCs are like what you play around and what you strong side. So it's like really just like honestly a handicap for Winthrop in my opinion.
And I can see that coming to fruition. You know, Jhin, you know, sometimes he gives some players some goosebumps when they start to hear some of the voice lines come up. I'm part of that crowd as well. Look, man, I hear him say 4, and that I'm cool. I'm cool. Everything is great in the world. But talking about that as well, the jungle matchup has been a fun one to look at. As we've seen, talking about defying the meta, Smats, we've seen a little bit of defying meta. This is starting to become a trend here for us over here on the Academy game. Yesterday, we had the assassin junglers. This time, looking over at Winthrop, the substitute jungler that they've been playing has been pulling out all sorts of crazy styles.
Yeah, Mordio actually has been playing those assassins like you were talking about, like the Kazakhs and well, Karth is not really an assassin, but still very high damage. I think when you have a jungler that is playing this like really big carry style, it makes a bit more sense to go for the Jhin because you have that utility and you're playing more around the jungle. I definitely agree with Avril that it's not going to give you that carry potential from the bottom lane, but for Mordio, as this guy who has one of the highest kill scores of the entire tournament so far, I think this jungle matchup is going to be really interesting. If of course he is playing, of course, because you have to remember that he is substituting in for Frost Forest. He did for the OQs just earlier this week. If Frost Forest is still out, that's something that Immortals AOE have to look at and see, well, maybe Winston's going to have to play a little bit more defense, more utility, so he can deal with this super fast carry style of this Kazakhs and other champions that Mordio may or may not be throwing into the party here.
It's definitely a party. And speaking of a party, we got to go ahead and see what games we have in store for us here today. As you can see, we do get to start it off over here with Immortals AOE versus Winthrop. And after that, we have Dare Gaming taking on Supernova. While over on the Unified stream, there is Evil Genius Prodigies taking on Taco Gaming and Maryville taking on Dinka. So it's a full night of games here. And a lot of these games are looking very exciting. And personally, I'm really looking forward to it. I want to gather y'all's thoughts on a subject here, because we did have the previous day's graphic. Now we're looking at today's graphic of what games we're going to have. There was a champion that had a lot of priority yesterday, and I want to talk about it real quick. We had a lot of priority on Karma. Oh, do you think this is going to be a trend that we're going to continue seeing throughout Group C and Group D? I mean, Group A and Group B were all about it.
You know, I personally have been playing a lot of Karma. If you look at my solo queue, it's my most played right now. I haven't gotten the chance to play it this week, any solo queue, because I've been busy doing these streams. You know, got to get back into Proving Grounds. But I do think Karma's in a pretty good state. So I wouldn't be surprised if she comes back. I know our guest yesterday, Zoo, was really not having it as much for the Karma. He was not super impressed, but Karma is near and dear to my heart, and so I hope that she can pop off some more today. I'd be down.
How about you? Is Karma near and dear to your heart in the same breath?
Not exactly. I'm not exactly a Karma enjoyer,
Ooh.
but I don't. I don't hate her. I actually really like how she's getting picked, especially with like Caitlyn and like Jinx. And I think like during the last couple games and like the meta has been like kind of being created like on the spot, but now it's kind of being concreted, and we're seeing like champions more prominently picked, and like people know like what is good and bad now, because like it is a new patch and people are still getting used to it.
Yeah, we've got a lot of new stuff going on, you know, all the new items and everything. It's really crazy.
Mhm.
You know, it does hurt my heart to hear that you don't like Karma as much. I think I may have lost my chances to play some duo queue, but you know, that's okay. I got some other champions, you know. It's alright.
Are you selling yourself for your spats? Is that what's happening?
Yeah,
You're like,
you know,
oh yeah, I got the Lulu. You know, if you like
I
Lulu
do.
a little bit more, like
I've got some other enchanters, you know. I'm getting up there. Like I said, I haven't gotten a chance to play yet today, so I'm only in Platinum 1. But I'm gonna rank up as soon as we're done today. I'll go rank up. And I won't play Karma, so I can practice other stuff.
No,
Literally same. The first thing I'm gonna do after this broadcast is probably play solo queue.
Very nice.
Hey,
Very nice.
there you go. There you go. Hey, look, the grind never stops, and it never stops for these teams here either. That's absolutely fantastic to see. And also, we got our matchups for today that are going to be just so incredible to be able to see everything. As you can see, we do have the stream links here for you as well, so that way you'll be able to know exactly where to go. I mentioned earlier the Unified. It is Unified Live if you want to watch the EG Prodigies versus Taco Gaming. But if you're here for the AOE Winthrop party, you're here at the right place.
Ooh,
this is
wait, Travesty.
well.
I just noticed something. If
What'd you notice?
if you're a fan of Winthrop and you see this team and you're like, wait, where did Doxa go? He's on Taco Gaming. You can go check him out over there. He's playing mid lane on the other stream right now. That's pretty fun.
What a correlation there. Didn't even put those two together, but hey, look, this is why I got you here for, Spats. But yeah, I'm excited to see exactly what they have in store for us here. And I do want to go ahead and talking about things that are in store. I want to go ahead and show off the predictions here, because this is the fun part. This is where we get to possibly flame some people. And ooh, we got a couple differences here. How are y'all feeling?
Everybody agrees for the first thing.
Yeah, everybody agrees on the first thing, but then it changes really quickly, okay?
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. So I gave my predictions. I was aligned with Kenobi yesterday, who's the fourth guy from the left. I think I'm going to be aligned with him again. Aligned with a lot of people as well. Both of our casters, RMC and Orbital, are with me too. I think they've got the right ideas here. I think EG, Dare, Maryville, Immortals. Those are my picks.
Okay. So, Avril, if you had to send in a pigeon right now, do you have some picks of yours that you're kind of favoring looking at this?
Honestly, I really think I'm looking at the EG Prodigies versus Taco Gaming matchup, and I do agree that EG does seem pretty favored to EG, but I really want to stress the fact that Taco Gaming should not be underrated, because like I really do believe in this roster. I believe in this team, and I think they have a chance to maybe win it.
There you
Nice.
go. Hey, look, we got the testimony out here. Taco Gaming got some expectations to live up to, and you know what? I'm just excited to see exactly what the games are going to appear like, because as you guys were talking about earlier on, there's been a lot of discovering the meta. I'm gonna say improvising from a lot of these teams here.
Hopefully not. That's what scrims are for.
We have seen some very interesting moments that have happened here on stream, and I'm kind of curious. Is there any like dark horse pick that you guys are kind of keeping your eyes out for to show up here? Is there something that is sneaking by that you feel like hasn't been as contested as it should be?
You know what? I'm gonna give you the opposite, Travesty. I think
Okay.
that there's some champions that are picked way too much that shouldn't be picked at all.
I like
Yasuo and Yone are so bad right now. Stop picking these champions, guys. They nerfed Lethal Tempo on melee champions. They nerfed Shield Bow, Wits End, everything about these guys. Stop picking this. Every
wait.
team is doing it.
Just wait one patch, guys. It's not that
Yeah.
One patch. The patch notes are already out. They read them. Come on, they have to be out if you read them. But How about you, for a real, like, is there anything that stuck out to you that you've kind of been like, all right, people ain't really picking this up in the bot lane? Are you also like, yo, Yone, Yasuo, please stay away from these champions? What you got for me?
Yeah, that I do agree with that. But also, I'm like very ADC centric, just because obviously I have more experience in that role. I really think Lux as a flex pick with ADC and support is very underrated. Like ADC Lux is like, and just having a flex pick in like competitive is like so strong. And Lux is actually really good. She has really good wave clear. She has good poke. She has good pick potential. Very underrated. I climbed a challenger with that champion last season, and yeah, and also Karthus ADC against specifically against Caitlyn is really good, because there are really like there are not that many ADCs that like can really match Caitlyn, and you know how Caitlyn is like very strong right now and picked all the time. Karthus like is one of the champions I think can like decently match Caitlyn and have an impact on the game as much as like Caitlyn would have.
I like this because my highest play rate champion was Karthus bot lane last season, so this is very validating me right now. This is my time. I can climb up to whatever. The sky is the limit for me now. Requiem, you guys better watch out. I'm going to be making that war song come through. Pentakill Karthus tours yet again. Well, that being said, I want to see also... We've talked about so many different things. We've talked about the different matchups that could possibly go on here. We've talked about the fact that you should not pick Yone, but you should not pick Yasuo. And I feel like talking about these pocket picks, these OP picks, and probably you should not ever be picking these picks. I want to go into the mid lane real quick. Is there anything you guys are kind of looking at to expect? Because we have had a little bit of a wild mid lane in terms of like we've seen a lot of Yasuo Yone over here on the Academy stream, and there's a lot of powerful champions over in the mid lane.
Yeah, the Tryndamere yesterday was pretty good for Crimson as well. I don't know if everyone's going to have Tryndamere experience, but that one looked pretty good. I really enjoyed the control mage play that we've seen, like the Victor, the Vex sometimes as well. Less control with the ult, but still pretty similar. And the Corki as well. These team fights have been really solid all across the board from these champions. I think if you do have the style from your mid lane that you can use to break apart those champions and sort of abuse that play style where you can get in early and maybe start to kill these guys early on, looking at you, Winthrop, with your really aggressive jungler, that could be something that you can do and win with in these games. We saw that Team Ambition actually won with a pretty similar strategy just yesterday. So, like some of these assassins, the Zed, the LeBlanc, you know, the new Debonair skins as well. You got to get those in there. I think killing these mid laners that are just scaling and doing it for free is a really valuable way to play.
I'm all for it. I'm also all for seeing the Debonair skins. They are fly as can be.
Yeah, the best one is the corn on the cob looking Zed skin.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Okay.
I don't think you do, but
yeah, no, I'm actually all for the Malzahar one. I'm like, yo, they made Malzahar into a hot boy. All right, like I was just like, all right, yo, okay, I get it. The Yi one, don't understand. I look at Yi and I'm like, yo, hold on, I don't know this is Yi at all. Looking at the splash, but it definitely gets to that point. I gotta ask you. You play bot lane. What's your worst nightmare in the mid lane? If you're going into this matchup here, you're looking to play a nice, healthy game of something meta like a Jinx or Caitlyn, and you look at the mid lane, you're looking at what could possibly send shivers down your spine.
First thing that comes to my mind, Victor. Victor is such a nightmare to deal with, even if you're Caitlyn, even if you outrange him. Like it's so easy for him to just like you being 9-1 and then like him just completely one-shotting you. Even if like he's like 1-5. It's just that champion is like so broken against AD carries, it's gross.
It's absolutely disgusting, and I think everybody can say the same with Victor. They either love to see him right now after Arcane, or they see him in the game and they're just like, wait a second, no, sorry, Victor, go back to the Netflix show. But yeah, it does become a very interesting thing. And that being said, we do have ourselves ready to get into the game here. We're ready with our casters on standby. They actually have a technical difficulty, actually. I just heard it. So we are going to take it over to a short break. So once we come back, we will be going into the casters as Orbital and RMC get us ready for game number 1.
Alrighty, here we go. It is not the analyst desk, it is the casters. Thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, my name is Orbital. With me is the best minion caster to ever grace the Rift. It is the random minion caster. So, RMC, how you doing today?
Doing good, Orbital. And you say I'm the best one to grace the Rift. I'll say I'm the only one to escape the Rift and get here onto the casting death. And I am so happy that I'm out of the Rift, because when I'm looking at these two teams, Immortals AOE versus Winthrop, you heard it on the analyst desk, right? LCS affiliated team versus the CLOL 2021 champions here, Orbital. There's, well, I don't want to say a lot on the line because it's double elimination, but there's a lot of pride on the line between these two teams.
Yeah, and I mean, after day number 1, where we had some of the closer matchups, I mean, straight up, the top seeds so far in this entire, qualifiers right now, not to say they look bad, it's just everyone's a little bit closer maybe than we were expecting, or maybe coming out with a bit more fire. And considering that Immortals AOE are currently the 3rd seed, do you feel like that can happen here as well? I mean, you have a little bit of insider information about how they're thinking, right?
Well, I mean, if we look back to yesterday, right? 100 Thieves Knicks dropping a game to Team Ambition. We saw the same with Golden Guardians Academy dropping a game to UCI Esports. It looks like we have a bit of a trend going here. LCS affiliated teams showing some vulnerabilities here. And today, in our first game, Immortals AOE, newly partnered organization, and Winthrop going to put that name to the test. Immortals, can they, will they bleed?
Yeah, and so let's go ahead, and as you can see there on your screen, we do have the other matchups going on right now. I believe Group D is starting up over on the Unified live stream as well, so tuning into both is always a very, very great thing, because these teams have been immaculate throughout the open Swiss bracket as well as now, so that's very, very fun to take a look at. But let's start breaking it down a little bit, because we heard a lot about what the desk had to say about some of these champions, but we didn't get a touch on as much maybe around that top lane as much, or even the jungle rotations, which you actually had pegged as the 2 lane matchups between these teams that would probably hold the most influence here in this series.
For sure. You heard it on the AG, talking about Anime Girl and Mabud. Let's start in the top lane. Both of these players, strong laners, new talent as well. Anime Girl very rapidly becoming one of my favorite top laners here in the amateur scene. I knew Anime Girl as a carry player back on Striking Vipers on Wildcard Gaming, and now they're expanding out towards the tanks, right? We said 5 separate unique champions: Gwen, Tahm Kench, Ornn, Darius, Gragas. 3 out of 5 of those champions are tanks, and it's showing a width, a breadth of champion pool, of flexibility here, which you love to see. On the other side, Mabud, same thing. We've seen him before on Dare Black, on Wichita Wolves here, really shot up this year, and absolutely love to see it. I think Mabud being slept on a little bit. And when we talk about champion picks, one of the ones that we didn't touch too much on the analyst desk was Gangplank. Incredibly strong in the meta right now, where top lane has really become quite a bit of an island, great in lane, able to affect other lanes. And in fact, teams have been banning it against Mabud here. I'm very curious to see if Immortals AOE decide to leave that open, thinking that they can handle it, or hey, their blue side, right? Potentially, they might be able to pick it up too. I don't know if Anime Girl plays it, but Anime Girl pretty much plays everything anyways.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many things to think about, especially with the first pick, and I think that has to be said, because on the desk, again, we're kind of going over it again, but it holds so much significance here, because for blue side, you have to think, right? Yes, top lane has a GP, bot lane has, the Jinx, the Caitlyn's, and everything of the sort, and talking about how that matchup would end up. There's another lane that I also want to talk about and touch on a little bit, is that mid lane, right? And the reason for that is it almost feels like this could be where we see one of the larger disparities between all the lanes here. This is Shochi versus Avano here. And I mean, Avano, little bit hit or miss, I think is the best way to put it. It's called into question, but has the ability to possibly prove himself.
I feel bad for Avano, because when we look at Avano's stats here, they haven't looked good in the OQs. 4th highest deaths of all mids, tied actually with their previous mid laner Doxa over on Taco. 4th lowest kill participation of all mids, unfortunately, as well. So the stats look bad. But when you watch how Winthrop has been playing, Avano's kind of been bait in the mid lane a little bit. Oftentimes, Avano, pushes out, and then as soon as the gank starts going down, you see Mordio roaming in from the jungle. You see Sir Kenji on day 2 coming up from the bot lane, and then they get the kills, and that kind of feeds into why Mordio has, well, the 5th highest kills of all junglers in the open qualifier. So that's 5 out of 32 junglers there, because they're kind of dangling Avano as bait. And the question to me then becomes, is a Vano's sacrifice worth it? Can Mordio get enough gold to be able to impact and carry the rest of the team?
Yeah, and that's always rough to talk about. Talking about bait when we just heard that the bot lane for Winthrop, if you're playing that Jhin, if you're playing kind of that utility in an 80-centric meta right now where you want to be the carry, that combination feels a little bit flip-floppy, right? It doesn't feel like it should mesh at all really for Winthrop. And coming in here, that I feel like that issue might be expanded on. That's something that Immortals AOE could kind of pick on and deal with in the draft.
Yeah, and I want to praise Vex for the Jhin play. I know Avril wasn't a fan of the Jhin pickup, but kind of like what Smack says, there's a reason why they do it, right? It's the utility pick to allow them to play to other lanes. And it kind of depends on what Sir Kenji picks as well. Sir Kenji, the Lux game with the Jhin, absolutely beautiful, great. Kill lane in the bot lane, that works out. But Sir Kenji likes to roam a lot and enable other lanes. And when that happens, Vex has to be able to hold his own in that lane. Has the 4th lowest CS of all AD carries, but the highest assists. So Vex is still participating in a lot of this action. But as you pointed out, Orbital, against Meech and Trevor, I don't know if that's going to work. Trevor, so far 5 games in the OQs, no Enchanter support here. Thresh, Leona, Rakan. Those are the 3 picks they've gone for. One thing they all have in common, pick potential, kill potential in lane. If Sir Kenji leaves Vex alone here, they could just dive the 2 of them onto Vex under turret. They've done it in other games. They're likely to do it in this one as well.
And that to me is terrifying. We've seen phenomenal tower dive teams so far break out. I mean, with the early game, with those teleport changes, and it's kind of notified the rest of the squads that if you do want to dive, there is a higher chance that you won't have to deal with that 4th person coming around. And it also gives the ability to push forward. I mean, with these 2 top laners, you were talking about kind of the different champion pools here. Do you think that's going to be accentuated even more so here? Or do you still think that the dives are going to be kind of interesting? It might be a little bit shaky so far, and it's only going to be King Vex feeling the weight of the 4-man.
Ooh, that's a rough one. I think it also depends on whether Mabud gets GP. If Mabud gets GP, I think Winthrop can start diving. But if not here, I really think Winthrop is going to be on the back foot for the most part in laning. And it goes back to that jungle matchup that we talked a little bit about earlier, right? Orbital, if Mordio gets enough kills, then yes, the dives go through. But when I'm looking across to the other side, IMT AOE's jungler. Yesterday, teams were picking up wins against the LCS affiliated teams by invading their jungle, punishing. And we saw them getting caught a little bit back on the back foot there. Iconic and Fnatic maybe not expecting it as much. Winston, whole different beast. I've watched Winston through the OQs and he had no chill whatsoever. This guy was invading constantly. If Mordio invades Winston, Winston's just gonna be like, okay, we'll swap jungles. I'll take your jungle. And then I'll come back and kill you as well. And for Winston, very nice aggression, good to see, but it can backfire at times as well. We've seen games, I believe it was against Team Ambition, actually in the OQs, where Winston was level 1 when Anticipation was level 4. So if there is somewhere you want to punish, I kind of want to see Mordio actually have measured aggression here, try and track Winston, maybe try and bully out Winston a little bit if you have that stronger early levels, because if not, Mordio himself might be so stifled by the aggression from Winston that he doesn't get a chance to carry.
Yeah, and if that does happen, if this turns from, hey, bot lane was a big idea, top lane all on its own, or mid lane, if it turns into this jungle fight of, oh, you invaded me, then I'm going to invade you, which team do you feel is going to come out on top with that? I mean, of course, the top end mids have to try and rotate, or, the lane try and have to help. Come on, you got to give us some idea. What are we going to see in the jungle? What's the rumble going to be like? Is it going to be, a 3v3, 2v2, or is it just one person going, guys, I need help here?
Overall, the reason why you see me Winston here is because it really depends on draft, right? We don't know what draft is coming out here. My gut feeling says IMT AOE simply because they are a team that likes to fight, that at least on paper look mechanically really strong. Give credit to the LCS organizations here. When they affiliate with amateur teams, they pick teams with big names, with strong players here, and often with that sort of talent in a level 1 sort of skirmish. You want to favor that, but I'm really, really praying and hoping that we don't see, too many level 1 fights break out. I'm just thinking back to Radiance and No Team last night. I mean, it was fun, but you know what? We ended that way last night. Maybe we begin that way today.
Yeah. Listen, it's fun, right? And I think that's something else here that we got to talk about is this is the time for people to kind of prove themselves. If you want to go for level 1, if you want to send it, by all means do it. But you got to make it look good, right? You got to make it look flashy. True. You got to make it look crazy. Like, meet in the river. Don't meet in a bush. Come on. Meet in the river. No bushes allowed. Just run straight at each other and wipe. I like, that is don't actually take that advice.
Hey, I'm just saying, right? Like they're called Immortals. Ever saw 300? you want to fight them in a choke point, right? That's how this works. Spartans be able to hold them off. Unfortunately, Winthrop, their logo is an eagle, not Spartans. But hey, maybe they can pull something off. And I had the chance, speak to their managers a little bit, Orbital, and the direction these teams are coming from are vastly different, right? Immortals coming out of the OQs in a really, really strong position there. They're third seeds effectively coming out of OQs. So for them, they want a clean 2-0. They need to prove their supremacy and that they deserve this spot. And on the other hand, Winthrop, well, they had a bit of a rough time. It was mentioned a little bit, but they are running some substitutes here. Mordio was not their starting jungler, even though Mordio has done an amazing job through the OQs as well. Sir Kenji actually missed day 1, so didn't have quite as much practice time with the team as you'd have liked to see here. So Winthrop knows that they're on thin ice, but Winthrop has pulled off miracles before, and that's what they're looking to pull off again here. And it starts with that first win, right? When you get that first win, maybe the mental is enough to throw Immortals AOE off kilter. And even if you don't win, as long as you can make them bleed, those are lessons you can learn for the latter half of things. This is double elimination, so there's still chances even if you drop game the first match.
Yeah, and talking about double elimination, let's also talk about this as looking at the groups overall, because that's something that I think we don't get to do too often, and especially as we wait for teams to kind of get ready, prep for this first match. I want to touch on this group, and you had dubbed it so much as the group of life. This is a group that there are so many options here to kind of go with, and obviously Immortals sitting at the top, third seed. That's how we have pretty much all of these top seeded teams. They feel like they should be the first one out. Now let's talk about the second one. The rest of the groups here, I believe, is Winthrop, we have Dare, and then of course we have Supernova. Of those three, where are you kind of looking at to be that second seed coming in here? Or do you think anyone is going to challenge Immortals AOE? Like, is that an option here? Is that a real factor?
Yes, so I love that you opened it back up and brought IMT AOE back down to earth here. Because Group C is a very interesting group. If you actually look at it, Group C and Group D are the harder groups. There are 2 teams which are 4-1 coming into those groups there. So on paper, it should be tougher. But Group C is called the Group of Life because the teams really do think they all have a shot to get out of this group here. IMT AOE, yes, everybody recognizes that they're the strongest team in this group. But let's not forget that Shochi, as well as Anime Girl, are a little bit newer to the amateur scene, especially at the PG level here, right? So teams are thinking, okay, IMT AOE, you're looking good, but we have a chance to beat you. The option, the possibility is there. And as you said, between Supernova, Dare, as well as Winthrop here, let's look at their pedigree. Winthrop, CLOL champions, they're a collegiate champion. They know how to win. Supernova, dubbed last year by Cubby, is the heart of amateur. Yes, the roster is completely different, but Supernova has been churning out high-level amateur players year after year after year. A lot of times when they first start, they don't necessarily look the strongest, but by the end of the season, a lot of them do get picked up by LCS affiliates. There are some who have made it all the way up to LCS as well. Dare Gaming, that's the new name. That's the hot name. If you followed the OQs, you'd know about Dare Gaming. 20th seed going into the OQs here, came out 4-1. And not just 4-1, it wasn't an easy path. They played 7th seed Radiance, who we saw last night. They beat 3rd seed Wildcard Gaming as well to make it all the way here. So they're on a huge hot streak right now, which is why the predictions, a lot of us here have predicted Dare over Supernova.
Yeah, well, you know what many people have also assumed is that Immortals is going to try and take that win over Winthrop, and hopefully in a commanding fashion. And of course, this first draft will give us all the information that hopefully we need, with Immortals AOE going to be sitting over on that blue side, and Winthrop University, of course, on the red. We are seeing the bans come out. Of course, the first one is that Thresh. It has been a staple in that bot lane. Have to take it off if you don't want to grab it. And then the Diana, which is a little bit surprising with the buffs we've seen tried out here and there. On the flip, of course, Victor in the mid lane, and then Lulu in response to the Thresh ban.
Yeah, the Thresh ban as well, particularly targeted at Sir Kenji. Great pickup, able to roam as well as back up Vex a lot here. The Diana ban catches me off guard because it's Immortals AOE here who've actually played Diana twice. Winston playing it. Mordio hasn't played it a single time here. If anything, they're more than happy to run an AD jungle AP mid combo here. And there we go. Avril, you get your wish partially, at least. Jhin taken off the board, and now Vex is going to have to pick something else for utility. I know that Avril mentioned ADC Lux.
Yeah, and that's a You know, I'm a gold player at heart and silver and mechanically, so I tend to stray towards the Ashe and the Sivir. If you're looking at utility, there's always that option if you really have to dig deep, but hopefully we don't, right? The Caitlyn and Jinx are still very much open here, and it looks like Winthrop had decided, hey, we'll give you both. We'll have a little bit of fun. So we'll see if we can confirm if that is actually correct. Looking here, though, first pick, multiple options available. You can't
Jinx.
target that bot lane, and it is going to be the Jinx. Why not? Peach says, give it.
Yeah, Beach has played Jinx 3 times, and she's probably the most powerful AD carry in the game right now. I know multiple teams have said they're willing to give up Caitlyn to get Jinx, and oh, this is different because now Vex has picked up the Jinx here, and perhaps the Caitlyn, pardon me here, and Caitlyn actually changes the way your team wants to run. When you pick a Caitlyn, you want to apply pressure into that bot lane really, really hard, and that's why we're seeing a lot of Lux paired with it, Lulu paired with it, Karma paired with it, a lot of poke damage, shove, and then constant juggle pressure here. No Lux picked up just quite yet. They're hovering the Gragas. Ah, there we go. That makes sense. That is probably the strongest early game bot lane right now.
Yeah. It's standard, right? It was talked about on the desk, the reign of the enchanters or sorcerers possibly coming back. So now it's going to be full on shove on the bot side. Winthrop saying, hey, we know the Jinx can get strong. We want to shut it down at its core. We will not allow you to see us as much. This also kind of signals to me that the Kenji is not roaming around, like you said. For Immortals AOE, they have their options. Looks like it is going to be targeted towards the jungle. Say, hey, now we have to take an engage to get close to that Caitlyn and Luxin. Honestly, Xin Zhao brings some of the best if you can land the skill shots.
Yeah, and with the ultimate from Xin Zhao as well, you're able to sort of deny some of that range advantage that Caitlyn brings in team fights. It is also sort of I don't say Winston specially plays so many different champions, but it is a very strong pickup for him that will let him invade and duel Mordio. We talked so much about the jungle matchup there, and now Mordio has to be careful if you're picking, the likes of a Karthus into this, a Viego into this, a Nocturne into this. You're gonna get punished. And meanwhile, support for Trevor. I was worried about the Yuumi for a second. I've heard. I mean, Yuumi has made its international debut or appearance, not say debut last year, but yeah, I don't like it. I think Karma's a much stronger pickup here. It gives you the speed buff as well to look for that engage you're talking about.
Yeah, I like it. I like the setup so far, and it looks like we are going to have a little bit of an off-center pick phase here. The Vex picking up for a Vano actually blind pick in that mid lane. I have some questions. But we'll leave it for the teams to answer at the end here. Lanes locked in for both in terms of 2 of 3. Ideas here for bans. It looks like Winthrop are aiming towards that mid.
Yeah. You know what? I like the Vex pickup here. I'm shaking my head because now we've got Vex the champion and Vex the player. We're going to have fun with that in the game here, Orbital. But yeah, R3, Vex, it's a safe pickup, and then you can ban away some of the champions you don't want to have to deal with. The Syndra, who's going to be able to match you in lane, get that perma shove as well. Twisted Fate, similar pattern. And they're looking to now pick up their jungler and their top laner. I'm assuming they're going to hold top here for Mabud, and maybe we get that isolated 1v1, whereas Immortals AOE, they're looking to pick up both their solo lanes here. They know the mid, but they've got a blind pick at the top.
Yeah, and that looks like it is going to be Mordio's specialty. The Kazakhs coming out here. It'll be a heavily contested in terms of the jungle pressure, I would say. Kazakhs is definitely one that is a ride or die champion. It's a bug that can either become crazy or get squashed in the first couple minutes. Looking at Immortals AOE, though, they have a lot of opportunities to answer here. They can answer, I believe, in that mid lane. It is going to be that blind pick. Ornn, man, I almost lost that name. He is going to be anviling out a couple items for his teammates.
Yeah, and I love the Ornn pickup here. Not because I love Anime Girl on tanks, but more because it's a deny away from Winthrop as well. Ornn right now probably the premier tank in the top lane. You look at how squishy Winthrop's lineup is here, and you take away that tank and you pick a perfect engage source for yourself. Shochi, okay, Orianna, again, very nice, safe pick, and Immortals AOE. They've drafted themselves a beautiful front-to-back composition here. There's lots of protection for their back line, and it's very stable. So that means it's up to Winthrop to try and make things happen. They've got the aggressive bot lane. They've got the aggressive jungle. How do they want to round this up? I'd like to see a tank for stability, but if you're a lower-seeded team trying to pull an upset win, sometimes you go a bit wild and you pick something a little bit dangerous. Is it going to be it? The Buds Darius? I haven't seen this in like a year and a half, and this is only the third player to play Darius. They're talking about it. Anime Girl played Darius into GGA. I think Barrick was the other top laner to have played a Darius, and Mabud is now the third top laner in this qualifier to actually pick up a Darius.
And it looks like it's also going to be the telltale win lane, win game, Darius. That is a Ghost coming out here, which I am so excited for. This is looking very, very spicy already. You said it, right? Winthrop coming in here has to pick something up. They cannot, if they play standard, it will make it a lot harder. Go for something crazy. It's game 1. This is your safety net game. It is going to be the Darius. This means that there's pretty much kill lane pressure in every single one of these for Winthrop. Now, before we get into what these compositions will want to do, I do want to give a little bit of an update of the drafting situation. Back in draft ban phase 1, we did see Winthrop miss a ban. From our understanding, that is intentional. That was Winthrop not banning a third champion. As such, in the graphics coming up here, we will have a Viego because no one likes Viego. Viego's not in the game. So that is what you actually see there. It is not a Viego ban. It is just an empty slot. So Winthrop feeling a little bit frisky here, not only opening up an extra pick option, but saying we'll take the spicy picks as well.
Oh, bro, your solo queue tendencies are showing there. The Viego hate coming through strong.
Listen, I'm a mid laner. Like I don't enjoy that champion coming to mid.
I think we might see Viego yet in this series here. Both the junglers play it, but let's go back to this draft here, bro. You said for Winthrop, right? Kill lanes, pressure in every single lane. Win lane, win game seems to be their strategy here. And honestly, in this particular meta, 12.1, it's viable. Top lane is an island. You can't, show up the bot lane from behind and try and gank that overextended hyper-pushing bot lane. And in the mid lane, the Vex pickup, like I said, it's a solid pickup. Orianna's not exactly a hard counter to it here. It will come down a lot to that 2v2 situation, Kha'Zix and Vex versus Xin Zhao and Orianna. And, well, if you ever catch the Orianna isolated, Winthrop can very quickly snowball this. So I appreciate it because they're trying to play a little bit out of the box here. My problem with their composition, if they don't win lane, they're going to fall apart. They don't have good engage here unless we see, Ivano just pop in and force any sort of fight. So they're on a timer. They need to make things happen. Whereas Immortal AOE, take your time, skill up, play safe.
Yeah, so many things to kind of think about here. And of course, seeing the champions laid out here, it gives everyone that competitive edge, right? This is going to be a spicy game. And if you feel like you can produce this sort of spicy game, whether it's in League of Legends or picking up Agents in Valorant, the Unified group does have some upcoming tournaments that you can always enter into, namely the Unified Premier Leagues with over $27,000 in total prizing coming this spring. Applications are now open. This is both for the Unified League of Legends side and the Valorant multiple applications. And drop your team in, see how well you play out, and make sure you get it in before January 24th, before the cutoff date. You can go ahead and take a look at unified.gg/organization/application. Again, both for League of Legends and Valorant. Very, very fun to see that come out here, and hopefully you get to see some awesome returning faces of the casters as well, which will be an absolute blast. Yeah, so we are going to go ahead, and I believe we're getting pretty close into getting the game, but you know what? We talked overall about the champions. We talked about, some of the craziness coming out here, and now I want to kind of focus down a little bit. We know the overarching theme, win lane, win game for Winthrop. Where does that start? Where is that going to all kick off here? If you had to pick a lane, RMC.
Well, bro, pick your poison. Side lanes, either of them, it works, right? Like you've got the Caitlyn Lux super combo in the bot lane coming through there. It's the strongest, most oppressive lane right now. That's definitely one place you can look. Not to mention it's great setup for the Kha'Zix. Lots of squishy targets there for an assassin. Personally, I'm looking top, but I'm biased. I like Mabud. I love Anime Girl. I love both these top laners here. And even though, anything that involves an Orin, usually kind of like, I'm yawning. It's not fun. But Ornn can burst people down, and Anime Girl not going to play a passive Ornn. That much I'm sure of here. When you're running it into Mabud as well, I want to see if Anime Girl has the patience here to be able to play that out. If you try and rush head on and you start dying once, dying twice, that lane's done. It's over. Mabud takes over. And while Mabud hasn't played Darius recently, I have memories of him playing it in, lower level league. And he can absolutely take over a game. He can warp the game in. And it's not just by split pushing either. He's got great situational awareness and ability to flank around, especially if he's running Ghost Flash as well. If he finds the way into your backline, the blender's on, your AD carry's dead.
Maybe not Tryndamere levels of Blender, but Blender nonetheless. Top lane going to be our lane to kind of watch here and keep eyes on how it turns out, especially for Winthrop University trying to prove themselves here, bring back some of that winning spirit and be able to take down Immortals AOE and show that, again, top seeds might not be as strong as we think. We will go to a very short break to ensure that we have a top quality broadcast right here on the Academy stream. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the unified brain farting right there. Unfortunately, qualifiers matches here in Group C. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back. Of course, the timer did lie on there. It said 1.5 minutes, but we said the game has to start now. Coming in for our first game of Group C here at this qualifiers. We are excited to bring it to you here. Of course, it is Immortals AOE versus Winthrop University. So, as you can see, the champions charging out onto the Rift. Going to be looking like it might be headed to a very standard 5-man setup. The defensive forms, as you will. We'll go ahead and run through a few of the players that will be gracing the Rift for this series today. On the blue side, it will be Immortals AOE. In the top lane, it will be Anime Girl, as we talked about before. In the jungle, it is Winston. In the mid lane, it is Shochi. At the ADC, it is Meech. And at support, it is Trevor.
And on the red side here, the defending CLOL champions, Winthrop University top lane. It's Mabud. In the jungle, it is Mordio. I know it showed Frost Forest for a second there in the draft, and unfortunately, Frost Forest still not quite back yet. In the mid lane, it is Avano. In the AD carry position, Vex. And in support, it will be Kenji. For clarification purposes, we have two Vexes on the map. When we say Vex, we mean Caitlyn. We mean the player Vex. If we're going to talk about Vex a champion, we will refer to Avano. If we mess it up, please don't clip it.
So just for those wondering, Avano is Vex and Vex is Caitlyn. Caitlyn is not... No, I don't know. I'm not even going to go into that. Anyways, my eyes immediately drawn after we have introduced the players. Something that I really wanted to talk about that I don't think we saw in the transition beforehand. Mabud, I'm slightly heartbroken. It's a teleport Darius. There is no ghost here to be played with.
Oh, he changed it. He toyed with us. It showed the ghost in the draft. And this does change things quite a bit, unfortunately. It's not going to be quite as lane dominant. I mean, Darius is still an absolute nasty thing. But in the bot side, Kenji already has the flash.
Yeah, that is not enjoyable, and that actually came from just a straight up bush Wookiee. This is something that you don't usually expect to see from Enchanter supports.
I mean, we've seen a lot of those bush wards so far in the early game trying to stop the early aggression, but I loved what IMA did there. They put the ward in, but they didn't hide in the bush. They hit around the bush instead. So when Kenji's ward came down, Vex's ward came down, they didn't actually see anybody there. It's a good bit of damage to try and trade because every little bit helps when you're in these sort of Enchanter poke heavy lanes.
It's going to be fun to see how that flash interaction is going to influence the rest of it, because keep in mind, even though the trade went a little bit worse for Kenji, Meech and Trevor actually don't have a heal to work with. Meech actually ran the cleanse, meaning that any poke that comes from the Lux and Caitlyn will actually stick fairly well in the gym.
Yeah, and it's going to rely a lot on Trevor being able to shield at the appropriate times for them to win the lane. But I like the cleanse here. You know, it's not a bad idea. Later on, the way Winthrop's going to work towards the mid-to-late games is a lot about pick, getting catches here, being able to land those light bindings from Kenji, and having the cleanse is going to be much more important. You can afford to lose a couple of deaths if need be as a Jinx. It's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world. Instead, I'm watching the junglers a little bit here. Orbital, Mordio, Winston both started top side. They're pathing down fairly quickly here, and it looks like Mordio skipping camps to try and cheese the bot side. We've touched on how squishy the Jinx, the Karma, potentially can be.
It almost feels like they're not even looking to jump the bot lane, but instead kind of predicting Winston will be. But in mid lane is actually where everything is. Remember, no ignites here, so it's really just auto attacks going back and forth. They're playing with so little HP, and they have run out of potions at level 3 and 4, by the way. There is no corrupting, and they're going to go for another couple autos, but no, they're going to chase. That's going to be a flash. Here is enough 100 HP difference. Avano is going to get first blood.
Orbital, no lie, when we were watching that, I was watching the mini-map and watching Mordio come up. No matter what happened there, Winthrop was going to get a kill one way or another. But being able to turn that around, that's huge for Avano. Avano has been struggling in lane during the OQs, and Shochi's mechanics are nuts. So getting that early win that's a huge mental advantage.
Yeah, I think this is going to potentially be something that we have to watch if that continues onwards, if this trend continues of these mid laners training so heavily on, I feel like champions that normally you don't see trade until level 6. They're going at it like cats and dogs, and it's so phenomenal to watch. They actually mirror the buys as well. Doran's rings coming out here for both of them, and only the difference is going to be a Sapphire plus boots for Ivano, utilizing that first blood gold.
Those boots might be key here. It's going to give Ivano the priority in terms of moving forward and backwards here. You can go and poke, get away, and Shochi has to be careful. If Shochi goes low, Ivano is going to be able to push in. Ivano with the level lead as well, going to have way more kill pressure. And once Ivano substantially wins this lane, I want to see Winthrop start going for these objectives with the Kazakhs, with the Ivano advantage here. They should be able to start winning 2v2 skirmishes quite easily.
For the record, I just heard I heard RMC almost saved Vex, immediately corrected it. So that is one that you would like to clip, just saying. No, we are taking a look here though. Sochi, even though he did lose that fight, is still willing to push up fairly heavily, right? You can see the warding coming out here. Pink ward on the bot side, regular ward on the top, but top lane, we're actually seeing, no, that's kills on the bot side. Ridiculous setup, kills top lane. Winthrop get another, and out of nowhere, we didn't even see all of them. We saw 1 of 3 as mid lane Ivano got another kill, and in the bottom lane, Vex, with the help of Kenji, able to pick up Jinx.
If we ever needed proof that the cameraman's the top laner, we just had it, man. Kills in every single lane we're watching top. You know what? I'm fine with that. I said I wanted to watch Mabud and Anime Girl, but that's huge for Winthrop there. Kills across the board. They're really playing to their strength, and this is what they need to do. They need to amass their leads. 1.5k? Nice, but not quite enough just yet. I need to see that 1 or 2 more times. That said, the kills mid and top, that gives them all the priority they need for Herald in 2 minutes time when it spawns.
Crazy action here in the early stages, and I feel like it can only ramp up even further. Like you said, these global objectives will start coming up here. Of course, the Ocean Dragon, first dragon of the game. No one has warded it. No one has even touched that side. So, like you said, it will be that top side. Scuttle also appearing on the top side of the map, so the junglers will have a little something to test out, namely Winston. Maybe looking to get a little bit of an advantage to start getting into these lanes and helping out his teammates.
Yeah, and it's worth noting for Winston that though we haven't seen ganks come through, he's not just been quietly power farming. He actually tried to invade. When we saw Shochi pushing up in that mid lane, it was partially to give priority to Winston, to let him go in. Unfortunately, Mordio had cleared majority of the camps in there, so Winston came out, couldn't quite find anything, and now, you know, a little bit on the back foot, a little bit slower in terms of tempo here, and it's going to be Mordio coming down with Mabud instead in a counter invade.
And a phenomenal scryers, I should say. Mordio and Mabud going to go ahead and start away the opponent jungle, and why not, right? Allowed to pull this off, but came in. Thankfully, the buff fell down so quickly. Winthrop is allowed to leave unscathed.
Well, Winthrop was collapsing quicker as well there, unfortunately. Oh, we get a replay of what happened, bot. Excellent, because I have no clue what happened. All we saw was Meech getting a solo kill here.
Yeah, and it was actually a cleanse coming out here, and I was wondering about that. That's a trade. Oh, the headshot. Doing so much work here. So it was actually a trade of kills between the ADC and support, and then a follow-through from Vex, almost getting Trevor.
Vex here, putting lie to everything we said on the analyst desk. Utility, no, let me show you a carry. Great trap as well under Meech to secure that particular kill. That's why you see the flash still up from Meech. Meech never got the opportunity to use it. Just way too much CC down there. If it was 1-for-1, you know what? It's still kind of okay for Meech there. You're still hitting CS, and you got the kill there. So not the end of the world for Immortals AOE's bot lane.
You're going to be okay, especially with Winston now paying special attention there. He's been bullied out of the top lane, which allowed him to kind of rotate into the enemy jungle. That he was looking to try and steal away a couple of the camps, but decided against it. Instead just showing on awards, so information given to Winthrop to allow them to continue to dominate this top lane. Very early Herald going to be taken.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because Mordio gets that Herald for free. Winston not able to answer any pressure, couldn't threaten the dragon, and now Shochi, they should know Herald just went down, and that's why we're seeing Shochi shade bot side here, but with the burst they have, it might not be enough.
It might not. They're going to go ahead, go all the way in, flash in, and one more Q. Mordio makes it look easy.
Orbital, it might be happening again. The LCS affiliate curse. You know, they lost one game every series. Winston?
Oh, Winston, you chose a little bit of a rough area to go, but of course the Crescent Guard is up, blocks most of the remaining damage. I don't even want to go back to your comment, RMC. I don't want to have my predictions ruined.
We'll see how it goes. For now, though, Dragon is up, and Shochi, had to go away. Winston taking some damage there, probably not going to come down, but because Vex and Kenji decide to go back here, they're not going to be able to pick up Dragon, and it's fine for Winthrop. Their comp is in a late game composition anyways, so if they don't really focus on the Dragons, that's okay. But they need to then try and take down turrets as quickly as you can. When you pick Caitlyn lane, ideally, you want to take that turret pre-14 minutes and rotate that Caitlyn to start sieging up other lanes. So I want to see that Herald go down there, find a kill, find maybe two, and instantly clear that turret.
So far, it might happen, but that might be later on here in the next couple of minutes. As Mordio says, it's time to start clearing the Dragon Mine as well with the isolation. Start stacking up with the advantage that they've given themselves. 2.2k at 10 minutes is a fairly significant.
Yep, exactly what they want to see there. Now they've picked up that Dragon as well. Hextech being the next one here for them. I'm actually really curious what the soul is, because I feel like if it's Infernal or Chemtech, Winthrop can really run away with this particular game, and then they want to really stack Dragons. But for now, they go back to their laning. They're fine with that. Flash away from Ivano to try and survive the gang.
I think that was rightly so. You did see Trevor kind of stepping up there to show a little bit of love towards the mid lane. But now it's a three-man gang squad. You can see a majority share of Immortals AOE actually dancing in that bot side of the river. Mordio up on the top side, so there's nothing else to gain. Winthrop are like, well, okay, you can get the wards down, but not going to get much more than that.
Yeah, they're not losing anything for this whatsoever here. But interestingly enough, they're rotating everybody to the mid lane. I called for bot side early turret, but with the chip damage here, are they looking for mid instead? Mordio wrapping around on a really deep invade here.
Winthrop has got to kind of sense that they've been spotted out with that, right? Like, no way to really dive it, but instead Mordio said, hey,
what?
You know what? We haven't even touched on top lane. Gonna drop the Herald.
No, they're trying to use this to force a dive.
Oh, they want to, but Anime Girl is able to stay out on the edge again. No real damage down, so they only take the plates. That's gonna be 3 plates in total for the top side, but Bud says thank you for the extra gold.
Okay, I'm a little bit surprised by that series of plays there. It felt a little bit forced, a little bit messed up, but you know what? They get the plates. It's on the Bud, solo lane fine. Kenji?
Oh, that's going to be a flash out of the Lux, but you know what? You can't flash extra damage. Now Vex is going to be dove under, walks right onto the traps of Vano here to try and help out, but it's only a Vex against 4. This dive is going to hurt, but no, Mordio says, hey, I'm going to dance out 3. It would have been messy, but Mordio might be the unfortunate sacrifice here. Jumps off the far end, breaks the tether, does get sapped. For that kill, Kenji is the only one to fall here.
Really well set up play there from Immortals AOE, and a lot of that comes from that top side Herald drop that we saw, right? They know Mordio's up there, and you could see the moment that showed, they just pile into the bot lane. They have the numbers advantage, and Vex and Kenji are incredibly squishy right now. That was flash and exhaust blown from Kenji to try and stay alive. All skill shots landed as well. Just wasn't enough, and Immortals AOE, they're showing their resilience. We said they just need to survive.
Quite well here, and Ivano just giving a little bit of grief over to Shochi. Shochi just wants to recall and go spend the gold. The 102 CS that's been built up there in the mid lane. I think that's well, now it's gone. Never mind. Shochi though, definitely going towards a little bit more utility build there. You can see the Boots of Lucidity already.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine as the Orianna there. More shockwaves is just as good as a heavier shockwave. You've got more than enough damage with Meech, especially as the game ramps on. But Orbital, interesting to note, every lane has stabilized for Immortals AOE. You can see from total gold there that Ivano might be winning gold, but you know what? Like, that's off kills, that's off assists. The only person who still maintains the CS lead is Mabud Shochi.
Shochi is going to pull that shockwave. Hey, it's the Lucidity Boots coming into play here. Flash out with the shockwave, and Mordio just goes, okay, I pulled just about everything out that I could.
Yeah, and Winthrop can continue to pick on this. I was just going to point out, Mabud has his own lead. They don't need to cap that top lane whatsoever anymore. 30 CS leads about what you'd expect at the 40-minute mark here from Ornn into Darius. And so, Mordio, you've got squishy targets to look at. Shochi's never going to feel comfortable in this lane now because they're going to constantly send more and more people to punish this Orianna.
The weakest link currently in the game for Immortals AOE, so why not, right? They have found the opportunities, but Trevor trying to lay down a couple wards. Was able to find a single pink, but right, don't want to push too much further. And cleared out quickly. No, Morio's gonna try and bait with it.
Yeah, I love that pink ward and the fact they didn't clear it. They also have control over the Herald. Shoji?
Oh, and there's no flash. There is nothing available.
Sidestep.
Flash
Is
to
it enough?
Q, but Mortio's actually gonna fall. So you know what? Shoji's gonna go cool. I'll take it. Now Ivano is not gonna enjoy what happens next. It's gonna be a root laser from far away, only 4 collateral damage, and Trevor able to secure a second kill in this game.
But at what cost here, Orbital? They do manage to find the kill, but you're right, it's on Trevor. The support, not ideal, and Anime Girl had to sack the top lane turret. Kills are good. They're fine, but that top lane gets a little bit risky here. The longer the lane, the rougher it is going to be for Anime Girl to try and play it.
Winston's like, listen, Gromp's mine. Stop trying to take it from me, please. But guess what?
Oh,
It's past 14
14?
minutes, but Bud with 159 CS says ADC in 2022, lol. Ace in the hole is going to take it. Bleed is going to finish it off, and Bud says welcome to the rest of the Rift.
You've heard of Dragoons, Darius. Now you got to pay attention to Mabud Darius here. It's not betraying the OPGG, but he does play it well and he's showing it right now. Don't even need the ghost with the teleport. And because of the pressure they put in, they're going to be able to get Dragon. They're going to be able to get the bot lane turret as well here. And for Immortals AOE, they need to start grouping up in order to have a chance. But they're not ready yet. Shoshi still doesn't have his first mythic. And for Meech, Kraken Slayer is nice, but ideally you're waiting for that 2-item power spike here, especially when you're playing from behind.
The worst part, you're not just playing behind as a team in this game. You're playing from behind against the likes of a Kha'Zix that's 2-1-1, a Darius that is 2-0-0, a Vex for Ivano at 2-1-1. These are all 3 champions that, if allowed, at any stance to get close to you, will rip you apart. Grouping up almost feels like a lesser of 2 evils, right?
Potentially here, but I think you hit on a key point, and that is if they can reach you, Orbital. If they can't reach you, it doesn't matter. Case in point, Herald. Winthrop could have taken it if they were there, but they didn't reach the Herald in time. Because of that bot side fight, they reset a little bit slow, and they give up a free Herald to Immortals AOE. Let's not forget, since preseason, objective bounties are a thing, so securing that second Herald is actually pretty important for teams in the lead to maintain that lead.
This is going to be tricky, like you said, as we are caressing into a little bit of a sway of the mid game here, 17 minutes in. Kind of taking stock of what's open. It is 2 dragons over to Winthrop University so far, with a Mountain Soul to play for, which will be, I want to say, integral to either team that is able to pick it up. A sheer amount of about 3.3k. It has allowed for a couple more items to be built on Winthrop's side. Anime Girl and Mabud, though, that's where we see the largest disparity, right? 30 CS difference with 2 kills over in a tower. We're probably going to see this Darius kind of ramp out of control on the side.
Yeah, and I'm just watching this mid lane siege happen right now. You can see Immortal Academy. They're struggling a little bit here, especially when Mabud is keeping the engage away from the rest of the team. If Anime Girl is there, that siege is not so safe. They're very, very squishy. You talk about Mountain Soul, honestly, not super great for Winthrop except for Mabud, which, hey, it's a key thing right now. But everybody else is percentage based. It's not ideal for them. And if they can find the engage, they can still bounce back.
Oh, of a jump in that mid lane. You were talking about Mountain Soul. Would have helped there, you know.
True.
Trevor would not have lost about 50% HP. And rest of the squad would have been able to tank up that laser. But you know what? That's a very, very small thing. Of course, Soul is quite a ways off here. And Winthrop is now kind of sending out the feelers, right? Just kind of throwing Hail Marys and saying, listen, we got time to spare with them.
Well, they do have to be careful, though. Time is not on their side. They've been doing a great job so far accelerating the pace of the game, but it's kind of getting stuck on this mid lane outer turret here. IMT AOE doing a great job just stalling out that mid lane for now. So Winthrop, I appreciate that they're looking, potentially a 1-3-1 or 4-1 split push here. If you group up, IMT AoE can still fight you. If you split up, IMT AoE are still stuck in trying to do that match your lanes, which haven't worked out for them so far.
Stuck in those situations is something they will have to kind of figure out. With the top lane consistently pushing Shochi, who was kind of stuck in that weak side, 1-4-1 currently, has been allowed to farm up to a significant degree. I was curious what build he was going to go with instead of maybe the Leandries, which I, of course, don't think would work here. It is going to be the loot. It's a little bit more behind those shockwaves.
Yeah, the only tank on the side of Winthrop is Mabud, so Leandry's not that big a deal. Mabud is Meech's problem to kill here, and Mabud doesn't have a ton of armor just yet. Yes, you've got the Sterix and you've got the boots, but Meech can still cut through. And for IMT AoE, I expect to continue to see them in this holding pattern. I'm not expecting them to make any crazy moves here. Don't be crazy, Shochi. Okay, yeah. Good check there. Yeah, you just play safe. You're waiting for Meech to come online. And for Winthrop, what they've been doing so far is good, but I feel like they need to rotate a little bit better here. I like Ivano split pushing the lane. I like Mabud split pushing here. But you need to make sure you're coordinated and doing it all together. So far, their backs have been a little bit decent, and that's what's allowed IMT AoE so far to rotate around and protect their remaining turrets.
Protect them as best they can, and that's all they have been doing, right? No towers taken for IMT AoE just yet. They've tried their best, but only the bot side has actually been hammered down. You can see on the minimap, right? That is the only tower or a red side for Winthrop that has taken a significant amount of damage. And Mabud now, granted this bot lane farm, has kept it fairly safe, with Dragon coming up here, coming live at 2046, I should say. It is immediately napped up by Mordio, and we'll put Winthrop University on sole point of a try here, though. Trevor sending a greeting to Vex, as it looks like IMT AoE are starting to a little bit just about everywhere.
Yeah, I love the assignments as well from Winthrop here, in that they're not overcommitting for that bot side Dragon. It's only Mordio. Top side though, Ivano can't quite hold against Anime Girl and Shelly.
Now this is a bit rough, but of course still with a quarter HP left, and Ivano now trading auto attacks against an Ornn and saying, I'll scratch your back a little bit while we dance up here. Mid lane is going to be pressured. Winston taking a bit of a tricky route, but joined by Trevor should be okay. And Vex and Kenji now going to back up with the rest of the team. A teleport actually coming in here as well from Anime Girl.
Okay, yeah, I mean, they've committed this, so they need to look for something, but there's no minions here, Orbital, to back them up. They do have the inside track, but Ivano has CP as well. Mordio getting chunked might be what they need to set up the siege.
This is going to be, I feel like a stat check that could happen to Ivano. Remember, here comes the ultimate. They found Meech. Meech is able to be caught, flashed into the laser, but isn't dead. That is going to be the saving grace. They didn't get the kill, so they can't follow through. Shockwave does go a little bit wide, and now the Ornn is called. No one is falling just yet. Ivano is going to survive, and the stat check is real, as everyone says, all right, this is the damage that can be output. Let's not do that again.
Okay, Winthrop won this. But IMT AoE, they're fine with this. They should not be allowed to survive that particular engage there. Yes, it burnt Flash and Cleanse from Meech, but the fact that Meech didn't die there means they only lose that outer turret. It's rough to say from Immortals AoE, this is not what you want to see if you're a fan of them falling behind, but you still got to be happy that they didn't go down. And for Winthrop, those sort of plays, they can make them all day long. They don't need to teleport Ivano in next time, because Ivano can just look for the flank. More and more of the map right now is opening up.
See it more and more. 3-0 still. Bounties are now active with that mid tower falling. It's going to give a significant chunk back. Baron is also in play, depending on how long it is to the next team fight. I think that was 10 minutes, and I don't even know if we want to call that last fight a team fight. So we got a ways. We got a ways. Questions, of course, where they want to go from here. As you said, the timer is ticking down, and you mentioned something. Winthrop letting people live should not occur. Will this be a more difficult question later on if Winthrop continues to only get people low and not be able to finish people off?
Definitely, it will become a bigger issue as it goes on. And Meech right now has hit that power spike on the Jinx. Runan's Hurricane picked up 2 items here. IMT AoE finally can look to fight, and the win con for IMT AoE right now is keep Meech alive. If Meech is alive, they can win fights. But you're seeing Winthrop here, they're still strong. They're still looking for this. And if IMT AoE don't ward their flanks, Mordio can absolutely pop Meech right now, pop Shochi right now, pop Trevor as well while you're at it.
The fun fact of this is, again, Winthrop are sitting on that soul point. They do have the power to kind of force IMT AoE into that Dragon Pit, if you will. That is something that I don't think IMT AoE can give up. I am really curious if they are going to challenge her, if they're going to stick with the farm, because so far that is all that they have done. Shochi now completing a little bit of an alternator, hoping to pump out a bit more. I believe that's a Shadow Flame being completed for Ivano as well, who, by the way, engages looking fairly solid so far.
Yeah, we said in draft that engage might be a bit of an issue for Winthrop. It has to be Ivano pretty much hopping into the back line, but Ivano's done that beautifully so far, always causing issues, and with the Mordio hop in as well. That was why I was surprised Meech survived the last engage from Ivano here. And Ivano is only going to get scarier. Vex scales amazingly well. Trevor?
That
Bye-bye.
should be it. Kenji actually being allowed to pick that one up. First kill for Kenji. 1, 2, and 1 right now. So Mordio's just like, listen, we want that Lux to be a little bit more powerful for the upcoming fights.
Yeah. The Lux does a lot of damage. It's why she's so highly prioritized among supports right now. And the Ornhorn, they're looking here, and really this is just a disengaging Ornhorn. They're not actually looking to full-on fight here. Winston was not in position. They just make sure that their turret is safe and alive.
Yeah, but the rough part is, again, Dragon coming up at 20 seconds, and that Ornhorn takes a while to come back. This could be the signal for Winthrop to go. Mordio.
Okay, Mordio.
Baiting it out. Mabud, I think, is actually baiting it. They get the pull. They get the laser. They get the kill.
Meech is dead.
Take one. Now fall through with the next. And Winthrop say, hey, you have no engage. You have no fallback. They will wipe that fight with 3. And 2 are only surviving. They get the tag on Trevor.
So
Trevor is going to get feared. Ivano wants a little bit more. The exhaust is going down. Trevor still baiting out, but Anime Girl on the front line is going to body block that out. Winthrop, take 3, are going to push down this mid tower and take Dragon to boot. Are they going to clear Baron as well?
Of course, it's up and available. Winston not alive for another 15 seconds here. This is not the Hextech map. Winston can't get there in time, and this fight, Orbital, might have been the fight that just broke IMT AoE's back here. The amazing lane dominance we saw transitioning into this mid-game. 8,000 gold lead before they take Baron. Once they get Baron, with a Lux, with a Caitlyn, that's a free siege for 3 minutes.
This is ridiculous. Throughout the entirety of this tournament so far, we have seen the top seeds almost consistently falter against their opponents. Yes, the other matches were in favor of the, I want to say, the favored, I guess. I don't know a better way to put it, but so far I have to say this one here by an underdog is one of the cleaner ones we've seen thus far.
That is true. Winthrop is not playing particularly cheesy. I mean, yes, their draft is not something we'd consider super standard. It is win lane, win game, but it's not surprising. These are, for the most part, champions that do exist within the current meta here. And Orbital, for Winthrop, this is exactly what they're talking about. They have been able to pull upset wins plenty of times in the past in the collegiate scene. And for Immortals AOE, they already said anything but a 2-0 for them would be, well, sort of a failure. And unfortunately, it's looking like it won't be a 2-0. In fact, the bigger question is, can they bounce back from this? And I want to see it in this game. I want to see at least one good team fight, because we've not seen the trigger being pulled by Immortals AOE. It's been defensive the entire game so far.
Very, very defensive, and with every single buff under the sun right now for Winthrop, except for Elder. Of course, we are seeing the siege start up. 1-4, as standard as you can be. Mordio in that mid lane. Viney's coming out from Kenji on the bot side, hoping to find someone, but Shoji himself is enjoying a little bit of poke damage, and fluctuations between, they can still do this, I think, for a couple more minutes. Yeah, a minute and a half left, so about a wave and a half more before they might actually have to back off.
Yeah, and you can see that they're protecting that siege minion. Meech can't even stand up and clear it. Took forever. And the turret's almost dead. 20% health. They will at least crack open the base before the Baron buff is off. Shockwave lands, but they can't follow up.
Oh, and that also means that there is no rebuttal for this. So, of course, Winthrop say, hey, it's another major ultimate down.
No.
But Bud's not going to actually chase in and say, hey, this is what we want to fight. Flash out from Winston, but Crescent Guard is down. That means an immediate bottom lane inhibitor is down at 29 minutes.
And Orbital, there's still 30 seconds. There's still one more wave with this Baron buff here. Like I said, no Shockwave, no Crescent Guard here. That's two big team fighting ultimates down. Winthrop, they might just brute force this.
Good, but the Oranhorn is back up, and they're going to call it Vex to take a chunk.
Okay.
There is going to be a flash, a nice flash out, and it is only going to be Kenji getting knocked up. I was curious if it was going to be the trigger pull. It was, but the bullet this time that came out didn't have as much gunpowder behind it. Binding lands now on the tankiest member of Immortals AOE, and that will be 2 inhibitors down in the span of about a minute and a half. Winthrop University getting so much off of that Baron power play.
We went from 7k, 8k gold lead to 10k, and they aren't done yet. That was a 4v5. Mordio was escorting the top wave in here.
Oh, Shockwave landed, but Shoji is dead. Now it's Ivano's turn coming in, and it looks like Winston is not going to enjoy this death. They follow through with 2 and are looking for a bit more, and they get it. Meech, though, being able to get the cleanse off, is going to try and fire back under the tower, and Winthrop are taking a bit more damage than they would probably enjoy here. They got the kills, and it might look like they get the inhibitor towers. Might not get the 3rd inhibitor, but my gosh, had they left Immortals AOE in ruins.
Rocket's coming up right now. There's no vision, though, and Meech, come on, throw the Hail Mary. Oh, they don't throw it there. This is rough. We said that the win con for Immortals AOE was Meech staying alive. Meech stayed alive. Meech did damage. Meech didn't kill anyone. Winthrop is just way too far hit now, 13k. That was off a Baron push. They don't need Baron anymore. Winthrop can walk into the base. That is an exposed inhibitor in the top lane. Once you get double supers in, the game's done.
And the worst feeling is in the world right now. Normally, I feel like a team is able to, especially if they're behind, are going to walk this out, but we get the replay here.
Yeah, and it was just a beautiful catch out into Shochi. The moment Shochi's down, you're at a numbers advantage. What impresses me is the amount of damage Meech puts out here, right? Meech does a ton of damage. Ivano ends up low. Mordio's low as well, and Vex, Kenji, all of them almost drop. If the rocket had been up, maybe they can turn the tide. So the Jinx, that pick is still working, and maybe if you give Immortals AOE another 10 minutes, they can turn the tides. I just don't think they're going to get 10 minutes from Winthrop. Nope, we're in their base.
Yep, they have to try, but again, like you said, might not get 10. They may have 3 or 4 tops, right? That's what I feel like right now, because Baron and Elder are coming up in a minute and less. This is getting a little bit crazy, but Winthrop just say, no, listen, we know we're still on a timer. That timer's extended all the way out to like 37 minutes. We get that. But we still want to end the game, right? We still want to get that first win under our belt, but that's going to be Vex stepping up. Remember, no flash, no nothing, but is able to get Force out, but Blood in the body block a few more. It looked like a good catch, but Vex dancing away from danger.
Yeah, and great flash or dodge away from Vex there. If you can't find Vex, if you can't find Ivano, the engages aren't going to work whatsoever. They're pushing off their base, but they did lose the top inhibitor. It's worth noting, bot lane Nexus turret is alive, but not by much. And as you pointed out, Baron's up, Elder's up. Winthrop, they just need to complete the circuit here. Grab both major buffs. Double super minions are spawning. You have literally every single thing in your favor. I just don't see a way Immortals AOE come back from that particular push.
At that point, Winthrop would have to like walk in one by one and just say, okay, we'll give you these massive bounties that are currently on our heads. I think that's 300 on Darius, 150 on Ivano in the mid lane, and then Caitlyn at 450. But I mean, how can you, right? Look at the vision. There is almost nothing out there. There is no time where it feels like Immortals AOE are going to have a chance at looking anywhere except inside of their own base. Baron going to melt down so quickly, and this time, I said it before, right? All the buffs from that early stage. No, this is all the buffs. However,
Okay.
it's going to be Kenji trying to run interference. It's going to get a double binding. But guess who's coming into play? Avano is going to get knocked up. Can he get any more? It is going to be Anime Girl getting cut down very, very low. Oh,
Execute.
Ace in the hole with a dragon to boot. And Mabud teleported in for the party. Winthrop University cleaning up house here in game number 1. Meech going to get lasered from across the map. Spikes almost landing. Misha says, well, I'm going to fire back. Gets one kill. Gets almost a second, but I mean, you can't beat a fear. Finally getting that 4th kill. Only Trevor, all the way out by Dragon, is going to watch as the base falls, and Winthrop, 14th seed, by the way, is going to get game 1 over Immortals AOE.
Orbital, the LCS affiliate curse is real. Every single LCS affiliate team. I'm not sure about the results of the EGP game yet, but at least here on the Academy stream, it happened again. And Winthrop, you know, the manager Taco said that they pull out miracles. They pulled another one off, and they did it in style here. Sure, this is not the same same roster that won CLOL 2021, but it's looking just as good here. And I've got to praise the individual play from all of these players here. They played win lane, win game. They succeeded. In Immortals AOE going into game 2 here, have to think, we can't afford to drop 3 losing lanes. Somebody's got to win somewhere to help enable Winston to actually be able to play the early game on Shintel.
Has to be something to be considered. Of course, they do have another chance. Like you said, IMT AOE is going to get ready for game number 2. And of course, we'll throw it to a very, very quick break. When we come back, we will have the analyst to break down that game number 1.